Welcome to the First and 30 podcast. This is episode 92. I'm your host, Antonino, and this week we're keeping the chains moving yet again with one of our favorite faithful fanatics, returning Seahawks super fan, Brodee from Seahawks.island. Welcome in, Brodee. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I want to address something first and foremost. I know last podcast we shot, I said I was signing off forever if we got Jadarian Price, and that's what happened. But here I am. I am alive and well still.
Man, I thought about you when I heard that pick, and I'm like, oh boy, someone check on my guy.
It was rough for a couple minutes. I think I've kind of talked myself into maybe potentially liking the pick, but we'll see how it goes.
Oh, don't you worry. I'm not letting you go easy on this one. We're going to revisit this at some point in the next 30 minutes. There was a ton of NFL draft excitement, and this is everyone's one-stop shop. 30 minutes to get a full recap of who won, who lost, biggest reaches, best values, best steals. We talk about it all in 30 short minutes. What do you say, Brodee? Should we jump right in?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, let's take it pedal to the metal.
Let's get it. First down, the worst thing we saw and the biggest losers of the draft. So what are you thinking here? Who is the biggest loser and the worst thing you saw?
So I think the most atrocious thing that I saw all weekend by a large margin was the Jags handling of the first two rounds. Not only did they not have a first rounder, but the choice that they had in the second round, Nate Borkercher, he got picked 71 picks over consensus. I think he was like 127 consensus, and he got picked 20-ish picks into the second round. So we're looking at like a 2-round reach there. I did like their third round, but like their first two rounds, they just I don't know how you can get much worse than that. And then to hear that they had guys that just didn't go to the combine or didn't go to pro days, their GM wasn't at majority of them, their coach wasn't at majority of them, and you kind of scratch your head and you're going like, what are you guys doing? Like, you just had a good season, you don't want to build off of it at all. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, like you said, they made the playoffs. You feel like they're knocking at the doorstep here. You think maybe they get a guy to kind of push the needle, but they didn't even have a first round pick. And you're telling me, from what I'm hearing, that second round pick is not the guy.
It seemed to start some paranoia over tight ends. Like it was a chain reaction. After you got him drafted, you got a bunch of tight ends drafted in the next two rounds. Yeah, I don't know what they see in him. Maybe they see something that we all are missing, but I think that they might have just, were playing darts with their board and just that's what they landed on.
I'm glad you brought that up. Speaking of playing darts on the dartboard, there's one team that kind of did that, and they used artificial intelligence to make every single one of their picks, apparently. That's right. The San Francisco 49ers and GM John Lynch apparently used AI to the max. All right, everyone's using AI, but John Lynch said specifically they went all the way in. And I can see that in their picks, but not in a good way, folks. Their picks are bad. And in every ranking system out there, they're picked way ahead of where they should be. One example of this, they picked a running back in the third round, folks. Third round, Kalen Black from Indiana. The guy was not even invited to the combine. What are we doing here? What are we thinking here? 49ers AI mode?
I hey, all power to them. Keep on doing that. Like, why don't you go ahead and get the Rams and the Cardinals on board with you while you're at it? Because I'd love to run the NFC West for the next several years.
But there's no love lost. I can hear it in your voice. These 49ers, they're scum of the earth to you. I get it. I'm the same way with the AFC North. But to have a player picked in the third round that wasn't even invited to the combine, yikes. This is a team that's, perennial in the playoffs. They consistently have good players at good positions. Scratching my head. Give me another one. Let's talk about some losers. Just like Jim Carrey would say, loser. Give me them.
Yeah. So pivoting from team to player, I think some of your biggest losers have to be that Cardinals running room. Between Tyler Algier and James Conner, there was some noise that Love could go at 3. But everywhere you looked, no one was picking it because no one believed it. You just paid Tyler Algier. You've had James Conner for several years, who's been at least reliable bell cow. He's not been top of the league by any stretch of the imagination, but he's been very reliable. Mm-hmm. You just drafted another running back a couple of years ago, so now you've got a guy you paid, a guy that's been there. You got I think he's in his 3rd year now, all in the running back room, and then you take Love. Who's the odd man out here? You know, I have to imagine it'd be James Conner with post June 1st designation, but you got to feel bad for him. You got to feel bad for Tyler Algier. Tyler Algier thinks this is the first time in his career since his rookie year that he's going to get more than 30% snap share, and he might not even get that now. So I don't know.
Jeez, I know everyone had them picking a defensive end at that slot. I feel like everyone thought Love was going to Tennessee. Arizona would get the defensive end that they badly needed. Match made in heaven. Nope. Stomp the brakes. Now the backfill at running back here, who knows what they're going to do? I think James Conner was dealing with some injuries off and on, but I can't see them keeping all 3 of those guys day 1 of the regular season. Curious to see how that plays. Cardinals have a lot of question marks across the board, so I don't know.
And just like the bad organization that they are, they had James Conner announce their 2nd round pick. So you draft who's most likely going to be his replacement and the ticket that they're going to use to get him out the door, and then you have him come back the next day to make your draft pick. Like, it's just not good optics.
Talk about bad optics. Talk about bad optics. This is the ugliest, worst, putrid thing I saw in all the NFL draft, okay? And I came on this podcast last episode, and I said, the Los Angeles Rams select, and I was joking around when I said they were going to take a quarterback. And doggone it, they went and they got themselves a quarterback. Biggest loser of this entire draft, Matthew Stafford. If I was him, I would be pissed beyond belief. Your team went to the Super Bowl and won one. You're in the playoffs. You come up at the NFC Championship. They lost to the Eagles one year, I think it was. They came up short a couple years in a row. They got all the pieces. He played at an MVP level last season. He was in the MVP race. I don't get it. Tyson, I feel like it's a waste of a pick. You could get a game-breaking player at pick 13, and instead they get a project quarterback and Ty Simpson, who most didn't even have in the first round. Come on, am I seeing clearly? What am I crazy? I don't know.
No, I mean, so far this podcast is all music to my ears. We got the Cardinals losing, we got the Rams losing, we got the Niners. Like, I couldn't ask for anything better, and that's how it felt on the first couple of days of the draft. But no, doubling down with you, I think you can add Sean McVay to that list too, because he was notably pissed. Like he wouldn't even talk to Ty. Like they did that draft call like they always do, and they handed the phone to Sean McVay, and he was like, "Yeah, just enjoy this time with your family." And like he didn't want to talk ball with him, so you could tell it's not a Sean McVay pick. But it was music to my ears. I love the thoughts of Ty Simpson following up Matt Stafford for years to come with the Rams.
Oh man, that it hurts. I know you're happy again watching these rivals kind of bite it a little bit, but that one really made me sick. I feel bad for you, Matthew Stafford. I hope he can keep his chin up there. I'm sure they'll be back in the playoffs next year. But so let's go from first down, talking about all these losers, and let's be a little nicer on second down. Fine, I give. Let's talk about some winners of the draft, teams, players. Who, in your opinion, knocked it out of the park and had a great draft?
Man, there were definitely some teams that were consensus that knocked it out of the park, and I loved a lot of other drafts too. But one that I wanted to focus on, that I'm not seeing get enough love in my opinion, is the Bears draft. First and foremost, they started out with Thieneman, and he was one of my guys, one of my favorite guys in the first round. I think he was really high value. It reminded me a lot of Cooper DeJean that slid down the draft a couple of years ago to the Eagles in the second round, and I was beginning to wonder if Thieneman was going to have the same thing happen to him, but the Bears ended up snagging him and pair him with Kobe Bryant, and that instantly becomes a safety duo that I'm going to earmark and watch this next year, because I love Kobe and I love Thieneman, and them two together, I think they're going to make magic happen on the back end. And then you follow that up with Logan Jones, who was my if not my favorite, one of my favorite interior offensive linemen in the entire draft. They fill a need because obviously they needed offensive linemen, and they get what I would consider BPA in that draft position. I like Roush as a blocking tight end. I think that they were in the list of teams that panicked after the Jags took their guy. But I do think Roush probably has the higher ceiling as a blocking tight end out of those guys that got taken in that run. I like Thomas as their new wide receiver 3. I like Malik Muhammad as a corner. If they use him as a nickel or an outside corner, I think he could be used in both. And you take a look back and you say, man, the Bears got 3, maybe 4 instant contributors from this draft class that's not deep and not good at all. And if you got that out of this draft class, that's a major win.
Man, this could Bears fans rejoice. Okay, you got your quarterback. I feel like every year you're trying to go for a quarterback. You're just not sure. Now that you got your guy, I feel like this draft they checked all the boxes. It looks good on paper. I mean, they could be right there. NFC Championship. This team's contending now. I think they're for real. I agree with you. I like all those picks there. But I'm going to talk about a team that's not contending, hasn't contended for a while, and they've been really bad. But I'm going to sit here and give you guys hope. I'm going to start with the New York Jets, Jets. Folks, let's not sleep on the Jets. Geno Smith, people forgot he's back at New York. He's back with the Jets. He now has weapons in this draft. The Jets have 3 first-round picks. Out of those 3 picks, they were able to pick the best tight end up in this draft, Kenyon Sadiq, the trail. Duke can fly. We talked about it last week. Fastest tight end ever. And then pick 30, they get Omar Cooper Jr., who me and you talked about last week from the Hoosiers, wide receiver. So now you're giving Geno Smith weapons. But hey, don't forget, they had pick number 2 in the draft, and they scoop up David Bailey from Texas Tech. When you have 3 picks in the first round, and then they had pick 50 where they get D'Angelo Pons, cornerback from the Hoosiers, my good, top 4 picks, 4 solid first round prospects. The New York Jets, they crushed it. Like the top 4 guys, unbelievable.
Yeah, I love the pick. I do. I'm extremely salty about it though because it's just like you just said. Pons at 50. After we took Jadarian at 32, I I was hoping that obviously we went over it last time. I was hoping we'd go corner in the first round, and after we didn't do that, I was just watching as all the corners were taken off between 32 and 64. And Pons was one of my last hopes. And as soon as I saw that hit the marker, I was like, "What are we doing?" It's just one of those collective sighs. I'm like, we needed that, and we didn't get it there. But no, to dogpile on what you're saying, I think the Jets. I think it's hard. I don't think enough people talk about it. When you have multiple first rounders like that, it's hard not to get cute with your first rounders, and I don't think that they did. I think that they did really well at drafting consensus and taking guys where they should have went.
And not only that, I'm looking down a little bit. Pick 110. They got a certain quarterback that was supposed to be a first round pick before he completely, laid an egg his senior season or his last season. Cade Klubnik, quarterback from the Clemson Tigers. I mean, you sneak that in there for the future potential, and that's all around A+ draft from the Jets. But who else do you have as a winner coming out of this draft?
I I know it's a little bit chalk. I see a lot of love on this draft class, but I do actually kind of like the Ravens draft class a good bit. Um, I think they did really well at mixing up drafting for needs, but also getting the best player that was on the board at the time, filling some trenches in, backfilling a little bit. I don't think that it's necessarily going to be the one that works out as good as some of the draft classes we've talked about. But I do think that the Ravens draft class is up there amongst the top echelon.
And that makes me sick, man. I don't know. We might
I'm
have to
sorry.
pause recording right
I'm
now. I think
sorry.
my dog's mad in the back. I don't know if you can hear my dog barking. Even he's not agreeing with this. The Ravens, their offseason has been a blunder. Yeah, they did pick up a good guard. I will admit, they got this good guard. I did pick up on that. But yeah. Fine, I give in. I'm going to go to another winner, and I'm going to stay in the AFC North, the Cleveland Browns. Man, the Brownies, they can't do nothing right ever. They always screw everything up, but this draft, they have a ton of picks, and I think they nailed it at pick 9, getting Spencer Fanu from Utah. I mean, that's the best tackle right there at 9. And then they get 2 receivers in Casey Concepcion. I know you're a fan of his. And then Denzel Boston at 39. At pick 58, they steal a first round rated safety, an EMW from Toledo. So just high value picks. They had a lot of picks, and I think they covered all their bases. And then they sprinkled in quarterback Taylon Green, the Arkansas quarterback dual threat, way at the end of the draft. I'm impressed. The Browns.
When I tell you, so skewing a little bit from what we're talking about, I'm a Herald fan and Dynasty owner. I've got 100% shares in them. I got them in every league. When I saw those 2 wide receivers come off the board, I just crap. There are so many weapons now that they've got from those 2 and Harold Vannon. I think that they've got a situation that's built a lot more for success than it has been over the last couple of years for those young quarterbacks to thrive in. The Browns is the Browns, so like you said, they'll find some way to mess it up, but they're going to be hard pressed to mess up this draft class.
I mean, time will tell, but I'm reaching deep. Yeah, Jets and Browns. Again, maybe I'm losing my mind here, but we'll have to see. And you had the Ravens and the Bears. So let's see if they'll reap the rewards this coming season. But let's move things to third down, and let's kind of shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about like the best steal or the best value, and then also the biggest reach. So let's go there. Let's start with you. What are we thinking here?
So starting off with steals, when I think of steals, I kind of lean a little bit more towards the late day 2, early day 3 picks, or late day 3 even. Just guys that I think that could be instant contributors to their teams. Last time that we talked a lot about how edge rooms, they might have a Batman, but they need a Robin. The Packers found their Robin in this draft class, getting Danny Dennis Sutton in round 4, pick 20. In that round, that was insane return. I don't understand how he got that far down. He's a do it all edge. He can be on the field 3 downs. He's got phenomenal run blocks, and he can get to the quarterback too. So pairing him with Micah, you're talking about a dynamic duo that can rival some of these upper echelon dynamic duos. Maybe not quite Houston level, because I'm not going to aim that high for him yet, but I do think Danny Dennis Sutton is one of the better Robins to a Batman at edge in the league instantly.
Man, I keep forgetting Micah Parsons is playing with the Packers. It's weird to me, but yeah, the Batman to the Robin, that's going to be a sight. It's going to be a bloodbath. Whenever I feel like the Bears, usually you see Caleb Williams running for his life. That might be happening again. We'll see. But talk about value here. We talked about this guy last week, Peter Woods, the best D tackle in the draft in a soft D tackle market, I would say, goes pick 29. And in mock drafts, some had him before 15, middle of the round. He goes pick 29. The Chiefs steal him. They need a D tackle, stud, right? But then talk about reaching a little bit. The Chiefs also kind of gave up a lot to move up to pick number 6 to get LSU cornerback Mansour Delane. They gave up the 9th pick, the 74th pick, and the 148 pick. So we talk about like, okay, good value, but then maybe they gave up too much for that corner, but they got a need, but maybe it was a little too much in my opinion.
And you kind of saw a lot of people projected multiple corners and safeties going in the first round in this draft, and it just didn't happen. You had majority of those corners and safeties that were projected to go in the first round slide midway through the second round, and that's what gave me all that false hope that maybe we got a Pons at 64. It didn't end up happening, but they all kind of went in a congested area in that middle second round. So you see all that, and you can kind of assume that consensus of that draft class for the corners and safeties around the league weren't as good as what a lot of people thought they were. Mm-hmm. So not only did you trade the house for Mansour Delane, but you did it in a draft that, if I can look at the rest of the draft class, I can see that maybe you didn't have to do that at all.
Right, right. Sometimes teams make mistakes. They try and force themselves. They got a need. They force the issue, but then later you see a little run in the draft because people get desperate. But no, I agree with you there. And I'm gonna mention one more player real quick because we're on the defensive back side of the ball here. Caleb Downs. He was supposed to go like he went flying up draft boards, top 10. I was like, there's no way the Bengals are going to get him when they had the 10th pick. I thought for sure top 6. He ends up going 11 to the best fit in the whole draft, the Dallas Cowboys. Talk about value. Cowboys move out one spot to make sure they get their guy, and he's going to fit in perfectly with that defense. And then the Cowboys went even further and picked up a couple edges after that, which I would say is great, fine, and dandy. But I feel like, so we're talking about value, and now we're going to talk about a reach. I feel like they reached on their UCF and Malachi Lawrence with pick 23. It was like maybe 30-ish picks before consensus, and he played at UCF. The competition there, the team wasn't that good. He could be a talent. I just feel like they reached a little bit. So Chiefs kind of got value and then reached. The Cowboys got value and then reached in the first round, back and forth. So that's my other one, the Cowboys there with those 2 picks.
And my other players to mention, I really loved AJ Halsey out of LSU. He ended up going to the Colts in the 3rd round, midway through the 3rd round, actually. And I think I really like him because he's a fit for most of your defenses that are being ran today. So he instantly makes the Colts a lot more multiple on the back end. They can run a little bit more of that too high shell that teams are running, but also mixing in some one high looks. He can go in the box if he's needed to. So he gives you a little bit more of that Swiss Army knife than some of the other safeties that were in this draft. The reach, I think by a large margin in my books, was Caleb Banks. Yeah, Malachi Lawrence was awful at 23. I saw a lot of people projecting him to go to us in the 2nd round at 64, so that definitely was a reach. I also think Caleb Banks 5 picks before that was just as bad, if not worse, in some respects. I think Caleb Banks, the prospect ceiling wise, is high, but he might start the season this year on the PUP list or the IR, and you're going to pick a player at 18 before consensus that might not even be able to play for you immediately. And those round 1 players are supposed to be immediate contributors. It didn't fit a need. Like, I don't know what the Vikings saw here and was like, yeah, let me have Caleb Banks over the other players that were on the board at the time. I had Thieneman mocked to them at 18. He was one of my picks in the Bears that I really loved going at 25, but they chose to go Caleb Banks here at 18. I just don't understand it. It doesn't make sense.
Man, maybe they were using AI a little too much too. Maybe they took a page out of the 49ers playbook there, but that's a bad one. So if you talk about injuries and players not being able to participate in the first game of the season, there's another player, in which case I'm going to say it was okay, and that's Jermod McCoy, cornerback out of Tennessee. Out of all the players in the entire draft, this is the one player that fell the most from his original thought about value in the first round. He went all the way to 4th round to the Raiders, which could eventually be the biggest steal of the entire draft if he's going to be all right off a torn ACL, if he recovers well and gets an opportunity. That right there, biggest value of the draft, in my opinion, from 1st round to the 4th round there.
Yeah, and I saw some reports about maybe potentially why he fell the way he did, about them having to rescope his knee, and if that surgery didn't go well, then he might not ever play again. Like, I saw all that, but you've got to look at what the mock draft boards were having. That, like, a majority of their insiders thought he was going, if he got to 15, that was going to be like world changing, and he got to the 4th round. So I think at that point in time, you've got to be the team that takes a shot, because in the 4th round, you obviously you're looking for players that could be contributors. But if you can get a player that could be not only a contributor but one of the best players in the draft, you got to take that shot. And the Raiders did the right thing. They traded up to make sure that they had the 1st round and the 4th. just to make sure that they could get that guy and take that shot.
I'm hoping for the best. You never want to hear an injury keep a player off the field, possibly forever. So we'll wish for the best for him. But let's move things to fourth down here. And in fourth down, we're going to cover all the quarterbacks real quick. We're going to say like where the quarterbacks went. They're the money makers. Let's be honest here. Let's fill in the people, update them where each quarterback went, and our quick thoughts there. So we all know Fernando Mendoza went to the Raiders. Fine and great. We all know Ty Simpson went to the Rams at the pick number 13. Absolutely disgusting, folks. But then at pick 65, Carson Beck goes to the Arizona Cardinals. So you got Love and Beck. Is that the new duo in the desert?
Yeah, I if that is, then I'm sleeping easy at night. Like it's not bothering me whatsoever. That's not to put any disrespect on Love's name by any stretch of the imagination, but we've seen it time and time again where teams don't have an offensive line ready for being able to compete, and then they draft a running back and it doesn't solve any issues. I don't think that Love is going to surpass that. But talking about the quarterbacks here, it's not that Beck has a bad situation he's going into. He's got one of the best tight ends in the game. Maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. can figure it out. I do like their core that they've got there at the skill position groups. But I don't see Carson Beck as a needle mover by any stretch of the imagination.
My oh my, how times have changed. It was Kyler Murray, and now it's Carson Beck. And we'll see what happens out there. But here's a player, the next quarterback at pick 76, Drew Aller to the Steelers. That's your boy right there. You're high on him. I am not. I feel like this kid is not it. I think he got injured for the whole year last season. Drew Aller to the Steelers. And you know I hate the Steelers, so don't say anything good about this guy. Come on, man. What are we thinking?
I think if you and everyone else does an interesting exercise, you go back to 2018 and you look at Josh Allen's draft profile, and then you pull up this draft profile for Drew Aller. Drew Aller is 1 inch and about 5 pounds off of Josh Allen, and their draft profiles look almost identical. The only difference is when the pocket breaks down, Drew Aller either throws the ball away or takes sacks, and Josh Allen was throwing picks. That's the only major difference. Everything else from the arm strength, from the mobility, like everything else is very, very similar. Now, I'm not saying Drew Aller is Josh Allen, but I'm saying that Drew Aller has the capability to reach ceilings that I don't think a lot of these other quarterbacks in this draft class have. I think Drew Aller going to Pittsburgh is, in my eyes, a dream destination with the coaches that they've got there now. They're known as quarterback whisperers. I think, obviously, I think Raj is going to come back this year and be their quarterback. I think I read a report earlier today where they're meeting with him this week to do so. So I also think Aller's not going to have that immediate pressure of needing to play, even though sometimes I think that's good. But I think that Aller, as a prospect, has the capability to have as high a ceiling as anyone else in this class. Mendoza included in that.
You're making me sick. I'm going to stop you right there. This is music to Pittsburgh fans' ears right here that they have Rodgers for one more year, which is great in my opinion, for a little bit of a pay increase potentially. And then they got him waiting in the shadows. He gets to stay home. This is good news for Pittsburgh. I think that'll work out well for them. Next quarterback here, Cade Klubnik. We talked about him going to the Jets, a sneaky pickup. The Eagles get Cole Payton from North Dakota State. The Browns get Taylon Green, the dual threat quarterback from Arkansas. The Commanders pick up Rutgers quarterback Ethan Kalimanis. And the Patriots get quarterback out of Texas Tech, Baron Morton. And last but not least, the Chiefs. The Chiefs pick up Garrett Nussmeier from LSU. And we talked about this before the show. Mahomes might not start the season. They have Fields, but I don't know. Nussmeier, 7th round pick. That might be a stretch, but he could potentially see the field. We might revisit that, I have a feeling.
Yeah, I again, just echoing what you said, I don't think Mahomes is going to start the year. I think he's going to miss a couple of games, maybe the first quarter of the season. And not saying anything disparagingly on Justin Fields, because I do like the player, but he always finds a way to mess it up. And if Mahomes misses 4 games, I'm willing to put all the chips on the table to say we're going to see Nuss on the field at least one of those games.
Oh, man. Well, there you have it, folks. That's 30 rapid-fire minutes here covering all the NFL draft. Next episode, we have the schedule release. We're going to talk about that. We're going to have our Super Bowl prediction post-draft next episode. Lots to look forward to. But as always, Brodee, I appreciate you coming on in from Seahawks.island and joining us here today. As always, you know the drill, folks, the chain movement. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you on the next one. The next one is the best one.